40 years ago, President Richard Nixon declared the war on drugs public enemy #1. He started an unprecedented campaign on the war on drugs, and today's studies show that the war on drugs is a huge failure, with terrible unintended consequences. It led to things such as mass incarceration, political and economic destabilization, violence, negatively infected millions of people, wasted billions of dollars a year, only to feed powerful drug cartels. Economic and political destabilization. Nearly all effects in the last few decades focused on eradicating the supply of drugs and incarcerating traffickers, but this ignores the rule of the market, supply and demand. In supply and demand, if you reduce the supply before reducing demand, the price goes up. This works sometimes in other products, but it does not work in drugs. The drug market isn't price sensitive, and the drugs will be consumed no matter what they cost. So the effect is that it encourages more drug production because they know they can make even more money off of it, and more traffickers. It increases the availability. This is called the balloon effect. Even if a major route is destroyed, the supply for the end user is not reduced because more people will just find a way. A perfect example of this is about a decade back when the government tried to cease meth production. The government tried to regulate the chemicals used for making the meth, and that threw the big meth producers out. But the unintended consequence was that a bunch of small-scale rural production meth makers made it. So no matter what happens, the drugs were made. Another reason is that the war is insanely expensive, and the U.S. has spent $1 trillion total in the war in the past 40 years. Annually, they spend about $15 billion a year, and the whole world spends about $100 billion a year. Children are also losing their parents left and right. Millions around the world have parents lost to the drug war because of unfair incarceration. At least 50,000 children just in Mexico alone have lost a parent to the war on drugs. Another reason of the war on drugs that's bad is violence. Prohibition of drugs, without a doubt, have increased crime and more gangs. Especially in Asia, Africa, Latin America, all these countries have big gangs and cartels spreading drugs. There's no access to the court system, so they have to settle their disputes using violence and guns. And according to some research, they have to settle their disputes this way, and it'll just lead to more and more violence, which is what you hear on the news about all this stuff. The lethal effects of the war are very high. An estimated 164,000 people just in Mexico have died from drug-related incidents. That's more than all the troops lost in the Afghanistan and Iraqi war in the same time period. A good reason is the incarceration of the non-violent drug offenders, the ones that aren't really doing anything wrong, they're just taking drugs. The U.S. takes about 5% of the world's population, but it takes up 25% of the prison population of the world. It's likely because of the harsh punishments and all that bad stuff. So obviously things are not going well. This isn't really working. There's lots of stats that show that this isn't working, and violence does not solve all problems. But there is a way that we could fix this. In the 1980s, Switzerland had the same issue related to heroin use. The HIV skyrocketed in their country, and street crime became a problem. Authorities tried something new, and they just tried to do harm reduction. They opened free heroin maintenance centers. Addicts were treated and stabilized there, and people were given free heroin of high quality. And they had social workers that would help them with their life and their career and trying to get back on the right track. They had clean needles and safe injection room, and they slowly got rid of their addiction. And the results were a sharp drop in crime, and 2/3 of the patients got regular jobs. Now because they're focused on getting better instead of trying to finance their addiction. And HIV rates have dropped drastically over there, and today about 70% of patients are just still treated. That's working for them. So it really shows that which method is better. The rest of the world is going at it with guns and violence and heavy sentences in prison, but it really isn't working. And Switzerland's did work. So maybe it's time to change our methods. You could either do harm reduction, which isn't as costly. People are cured and crime and homicide is low over there, and they're actually making progress on it. But if you use our policy, the hardline policy, with over $1 trillion wasted, and drug-related crimes keep on increasing when there's no progression, it seems like an obvious choice for us to use the harm reduction policy. Drug prohibition led to a system that bulldozes human rights, costs the vast sums of money, and creates lots of human misery, and all in pursuit of an unobtainable goal. Alright. My sources are Huffington Post, NBC.com, NewYorkTimes.com, and BusinessInsider.com.